I'm Maxine. This is Katie. We're here representing Corvus Security. So I'd like to open with a quote from The Art of War. I think that you can kind of break businesses down in this kind of modern tech sphere that we live in into three categories. So there are those that know the enemy and know themselves. There are those that know themselves but not the enemy. And then there are those that know neither. Those that know neither and who don't know the enemy are at the most risk right now. So what's the threat to these businesses? A 2019 article said that 60% of small companies go out of business within 6 months of falling victim to a cyber breach. Another study by Hiscox Insurance showed that 47% of small businesses have fallen victim to a cyber attack of some sort in the past year. To kind of bring that point home, there was a 2018 Associated Press article that highlighted the attack against the Emerald Queen Casino by the Fin7 cyber attack group. They were targeting client data, financial records, employee records, anything that they could get their hands on. The Emerald Queen was not the only business affected here in Western Washington. There were restaurants, there were small medical offices, there were manufacturing. Lots of different businesses were affected. The reason that Emerald Queen was able to stave off this attack is because they have a large budget. They have a cyber defense team. Many of the small businesses that are attacked every year do not even have an IT department. They don't have IT staff. How are they supposed to protect themselves against these threats? Another point to kind of bring it back here to Washington was the 2019 Sammamish ransomware attack. If you're not aware, the city of Sammamish in January was attacked with Russian ransomware. It shut the city down. They were not able to issue permits, they were not issued licenses, process any kind of paperwork. Still to this day, they are dealing with the fallout from that. They are not at 100%, some of their servers are still down. So you can see that there's a disruption to city operations and that there is still an ongoing forensic investigation that is currently affecting their ability to conduct business. So, Corvus has undertaken a local survey to gauge where Tacoma lies with a national ranking. Where do we lie with the numbers that are coming out of the rest of the country? Our survey shows that Tacoma, like most of the rest of the country, is wholly unprepared for a cyber attack. Our small businesses, like the rest of the country, don't have IT departments. They don't have a strategy to deal with the cyber attack in the event that it does happen. And most of their employees don't know what a cyber attack looks like. So these are some of the breakdowns that we have. This is an ongoing survey that we have. We are going to try and roll this out yearly so that we can hopefully track progress or certain trends across the numbers that develop out of this area. And then we can hopefully compare those to the national averages, and then we can gauge whether this area is safer or maybe more dangerous for businesses in regards to cyber attack. So our business model here at Corvus is a proactive approach to cyber defense. So what we're doing is we are taking proven tactics, techniques, and procedures, leveraging those to find vulnerabilities within networks and other devices within your office. One of the keys to this business model is lowering the barriers for comprehensive cyber risk management. And that means bringing cyber risk management to small businesses. Businesses that don't have multi-million-dollar IT budgets, that don't have $100,000 security staff members. These are businesses that maybe just set up Wi-Fi, maybe just have an online web store, are just scraping by with their IT needs. One of the other pieces of our business model is launching the careers of students here in this area. One of the barriers to getting a career in cybersecurity is having years of experience. Most jobs want you to have 3 to 5 years of experience to come into entry-level cybersecurity jobs. Where do you get that experience? You can't, unless some company wants to go out on a limb and take a chance on you. That's where Corvus comes in. Part of the reason that we're able to offer our services at a lower cost to small businesses is that we take student professionals. These are students that have shown a high interest in cybersecurity and a real aptitude for technical subjects. We take them in, we help train them, we give them certification, and then we give them job experience. We pay them to go in and find the vulnerabilities within these companies that could present a risk further down the road. So some of our marketing strategies have included just direct marketing, going straight to the customers, which has been fairly successful. We've had a lot of interest. And then also something new that we're going to try is subcontracting from larger firms. So in Seattle, there are a number of pen testing companies that do something that we are proposing on a larger scale. And they do it for companies and enterprises who give them $200,000 per contract. We aren't charging anywhere near that, just a fraction of that, in fact. So some of our potential clients, medical offices, manufacturing, local governments, nonprofits, restaurants, hospitality, basically anything that you could think of that has a computer and a network connection. So this is our team. There are 5 of us. We have various backgrounds. Currently, I am the only one who holds security certifications, but hopefully with the winnings from this competition, we will send the rest of the team through the OSCP certification, which will give them sort of a internationally recognized knowledge set. 3 of us are veterans, and we are all students here at Tacoma. So I'm going to pass it on.
So for our training and onboard, we're going to approach it a little bit differently for the students to kind of add on to their educational experience at UW as well, because we're getting a lot of the core classes that you need for the cyber defense classes. So part of these, we'll have a learning phase and part of their internship. So it'll include CTFs, which is actually capture the flags. So these are virtual environments where they get to learn how to attack and how to counterattack these attacks. We'll also have the OSCP, and that's a certification that will hopefully sponsor them with the money that we make through the company to be able to get these certifications. And then we'll also have them observe a lot. So they'll observe people that are actually on the field, and they will also be observing at the capture the flags and events and such. There's going to be a hands-on phase, and as a working student of a professional, and it's going to be left seat, right seat. So when new interns come in, they're going to be able to sit back and watch experienced students and professionals working together and learn from them as they're doing it. And then the professionals and students that are already working will sit back and have them follow the same process and just observe and make sure that they're there just in case they need to step in if something is an issue. We'll also have a knowledge stress test and continual training cycles, so that they'll be accessing this the whole time that they're working with us. And so this is kind of the cost of our business. We just launched last month. So as of right now, this is our initial expenses. We're seeing our biggest expenses in lawyers' fees right now because we need to protect all aspects of this, and there's a lot of paperwork, legal paperwork that goes involved with these, doing the contracts. So the thing that's going to save us money is the student operating costs. So we're going to either offer certifications for them for between $200 and $1,000 per certification. We'll also offer internships that they can fulfill with their school. And we'll also offer a minimum wage, which will be about $500 per month. Questions? That's about the end.
So you're working with the lawyers on your insurance. So if there was a breach and you were under a contract, what liability do you guys have?
Yeah, so we are insured for $1 million in liability. We also have various checks in place to make sure that the work that we are doing does not result in a breach. So if there were a breach to happen, hopefully through a forensic investigation, the evidence would come out that we were not the result of that breach.
Who is your direct competition?
So currently in this space with small businesses, we don't have any direct competition for the vulnerability assessment and pen testing.
Can you kind of walk us through the revenue model? You mentioned there's some possible work you could do as feed down from larger shops, and then you're doing some direct marketing and such. Can you give us a little more granularity about the revenue piece and what you're kind of seeing?
Right. This is actually the next slide. So we charge on sort of a weekly and per endpoint basis. So say an office has 60 computers in it, or maybe has 60 IP addresses for us to scan. That's a fairly large job and not undoable, so we could take a week or two. So for that, we would charge somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000. And that's also dependent on the size of the company. So if it's a company with lower assets, maybe they don't have the ability to pay $8,000 or $10,000, then we can work with you. We have a number of pro bono hours that we like to set aside to help businesses in just such an occasion.
And just to add to that, since we just launched, we're trading work, so quid pro quo right now, and we're working with an attorney's office as well, so we're hoping to be able to supplement work and trade services as well. So that's how we're kind of getting by in the beginning.
So I might have missed this in your presentation, but are you guys offering continuous services? You have the initial kind of check and look for issues. Are you going to be a on-call IT solution for them as well?
So the way that we would offer our services would be sort of a one-time deal, or maybe a quarterly or a yearly sort of thing where you would bring our team in. Generally, the industry suggests that you use different firms for your quarterly tests, so you wouldn't just pick one firm and go with them every year. You'd want different eyes on it. So that's kind of, there's a little bit of, I don't know what you would call it, but there's some transition, I guess, built into the industry, just,
Piggybacking off of that, because I was kind of pondering the same thing. So you go in and do a baseline security audit, you identify the issues, but it sounds like your main business that you're looking at right now are companies that often don't have an IT person internally because they're smaller and they don't have that. So are you planning on partnering with any IT companies who you could say, here are 2 or 3 that we would suggest who can come in and take care of these issues now?
Yes, absolutely. So kind of the first clients that we were dealing with brought in their managed service. So Help Desk Cavalry, they're out of Bremerton. They're just the one that I can think of off the top of my head. But the managed security service is starting to become a booming industry right now. So rather than us try to jump into that market and try to throw our hat into it, we want to augment those services. We want to add value to those services. When they sign on a new client, they could contract with us and we can point out the vulnerabilities so they know exactly what they need to go in and fix, and they're not wasting time that way.
And so you talked a little bit about competition too, but it sounds like a lot of the competition that you've identified so far is normally working on the bigger end of the spectrum.
Right.
And so are there companies locally here that are doing any smaller work too, or not?
Right, so because of the pay requirements usually for pen testers and security experts, they need to sign, bigger companies need to sign big contracts. They have teams that cost millions of dollars. Unfortunately, small businesses, no matter how many you try to do, they're not going to match up with the amount of money that you can make off doing a small number of big enterprises. So for that kind of fact, it's kind of out of their sight right now. That's not where the money is. And maybe someday that we'll figure out, the bigger companies will figure out how to monetize it correctly, but I don't think that their business model is correct to effectively market their services to small businesses.
So basically, you guys are two businesses in one. You can find out whether people's weaknesses on their on their computer needs, and then you're also a training.
Right.
So,
right. Career Launchpad is what we like to think of it. Really giving the students from this area the abilities to go on to not only protect the businesses in this area and this state, but our country as well. Because these students will go on a couple years after graduation and go on to bigger companies, maybe work for the government, who knows. So it's really bringing a highlight back to this area and saying that we have a priority on cybersecurity, and we have sort of the resources to build cybersecurity experts here.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.